Good day, everyone. My name is Mutalansindi Opan, and today I will conduct a scientific investigation or practical on density using a stone, a pen, and a pencil in a 2-liter bottle filled with water. This topic comes from a natural science camp document for grade 8 learners under matter and material strength in term 2. Density refers to how heavy or light an object is compared to its size. And density helps us understand why some objects float while others sink in water. This investigation will demonstrate how different materials behave in water depending on their density. Now we'll move on to the misconception to explaining the misconceptions which are related to density. The first misconception is that all heavy objects sink. Many learners think that because stones and metals objects usually sink in water. However, some heavy objects such as ships float because their overall density is lower than the water. The second misconception is that all small or light objects float. This is incorrect. Why? Because some small objects can still sink if they are denser than water. And another misconception is that floating depends not only on size. Learners may think bigger objects think faster, but density depends on how both mass and volume together. This investigation will also help learners understand that objects float if they are less dense than water and sink if they are more denser than water. Then now we'll move on to the apparatus and the safety. Now I'll introduce the apparatus which are needed for this investigation. Now, we will need a 2 liter of bucket of a 2 liter of water, a small stool, a pencil, and a pen. Then the safety precaution is that water may spill on the floor, so some learners should walk carefully to avoid slipping, and then objects should not be thrown into the bucket because water may splash into someone's eyes and so on and so on. Then now we'll move on to the practical demonstration, wherein now I will be demonstrating the investigation. The first step, you fill the 2 liter bucket of water halfway with water. Well, I've already filled mine with water. Number two, now we will take a stool and place it gently into the water. Then we'll see that now the stone sinks into the water, which means that the stone is denser than water. From now we'll move on to the pencil. We'll place the pencil into the water. As we place it into the water, we'll see that it's floating into the what? Into the water. Now this means that the pencil is less denser than water. Then now we'll move on to the last one, a pen. We'll also place it now into the water. As we place it into the water, and we'll see that a pen is floating on the surface, meaning that pencil, they are less denser than water. From the observation here, from what we've observed, is that the pen may float depending on the material inside, and also the pencil may float depending on the material inside. Then from the observation also, then we can conclude that um, the stone sink because it is more denser than water, and the pencil and the pen floats because it's less dense than water. Then the pen behaves accordingly. The pen and the pencil, they behave accordingly to the material which has been used to it. Then, therefore, The density affects floating and sinking, meaning that when an object it has it is more denser, it will what? It will sink into the water. And then now we move on to uh, how was I going to teach this this topic to a senior phase learners. If I were teaching this topic to a senior phase learners, I will first ask learners to predict which objects will float and sink, and also explain their reasons. This allows learners to reveal their misconceptions. Next, I will conduct the investigation while learners observe carefully. Learners will record the observation on a table. After the investigation, I will guide learners in discussing why some objects float and why other sank. I will explain the density using simple language and examples from daily life, such as ships floating in on water. I will also allow learners to test additional objects to strengthen or to deepen their understanding through hands-on learning. Questioning, discussion, and worksheet will be used to assess learners' understanding. And in conclusion, this investigation showed that density determines whether an object floats or sinks. Then the stone sank because it was denser than water, while the pencil and the pen flowed because it was less dense than water. This experiment corrected the misconception that only heavy objects sink or only light objects float. Thank you for watching my presentation.